Over the summer, I've been doing a deep dive into the 2025 NFL draft class, and today I have finally gotten into wide receivers, or how I like to call it, dessert, because that film was sweet. I'm going to give you my top 15 in this video, but please stick around until the end, because I'm going to also cover some of the guys who just missed the list. So without further ado, number 15. Tai Felton out of Maryland, coming in at 6'2", 181 pounds. So he is a little lean, a little slender, but he's got plenty of room to add some more mass on that frame. Last season, he had a little over 700 yards, 6 touchdowns, but 18 forced missed tackles. That's a big number. Now, the dude is extremely fast. Like, long lives, can cover a lot of ground real quick, but he accelerates really well off the line and out of his breaks. He could create separation just by speed alone. He would have had, honestly, so many more yards and just bigger plays if he had a quarterback there with a stronger arm. Also, this guy's diamond release is ridiculous. Like, he can really sell you, whether on either the slant or if he's looking to go vertical, because he plants his foot in so hard and he explodes so well off it. Like, he just immediately creates that separation if he could get the corner to bite. On top of that, the ball skills are pretty darn good with him. He is good at high pointing and attacking the football when it is in air. He only has a 5% drop rate over his career, and then the yak ability is just hella good. He's not just shifty, he's not fast, but he actually absorbs contact really well. Not to say he's like sturdy, but he does a good job of just keeping his feet underneath him. Like I said, I already said it already. He had 18 forced missed tackles. That wasn't by mistake. He was hard to bring down. Now, some of the cons when it comes with him is, well, the route tree, man. A lot of his routes were really just screens and slants and goes. That was the large majority of it. But I honestly think he has the potential to be a very fluid and just a very good route runner. He's a guy that does keeps his hips down at the beginning of routes and just allows him to be very fluid in and out of his breaks. Looks like he knows how to tempo his routes if need be. And I did say he needs to put on more mass, but again, he's got enough room along his frame where I don't think that'll be a problem. I will say, like, fumbles were kind of big. Like, this dude had 48 receptions, 3 fumbles. I know 2 of those came in one game, but like, I was looking at the fumbles, and a lot of them were second effort, which it's like, it's really hard to hate that, you know? Like, this guy's fighting for every yard, every inch, and the ball comes out. I mean, I expect the number to be down this season with him, but like, it's hard to root against a guy with that type of effort. At number 14, I have Tre Harris out of Ole Miss, coming in at 6'2", 205 pounds. His actual first name's Cleveland, which I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool. He was a quarterback in high school, but was recruited as a receiver and did play receiver once he arrived there at Louisiana Tech back in 2022. He was a first-team All-Conference USA and then decided to transfer and take his game to better competition, and ended up playing in the SEC, where he was pretty darn good. He did miss a game last season because after the Tulane game, he needed to get his knee scoped out or something. He had minor knee surgery, and you could tell he was a bit slower while he was recovering from that, while still trying to play football. But this isn't a guy that has a lot of speed to his game. Like, he kind of feels a little faster as a ball carrier, but he's not someone that's just going to create separation. That's just not his game. So he was kind of forced into a ton of contested catch situations. His contested catch rate last season was 35.7%. Not a great number, but not a terrible number. Luckily, over the course of his career, that number is 50%. So he was definitely a lot more successful in Conference USA when it came to contested catches. Maybe that number goes up this season. Be something to watch out for now that he's in his second year as an SEC player. But this is a man that has a lot of highlight catches on tape. The hands are strong. He jumps well. The hand-eye coordination is really good, so I do expect that to get better for him. He's also a very powerful ball carrier. Like, he's got good full-body strength, displays good contact balance. He had 10 forced missed tackles on 54 receptions. And the play strength in general is just good. He plays with good physicality. He's got great length. He's very strong off the line of scrimmage. It just makes him kind of hard to deal with in press situations. And he's got good alignment versatility. He's someone who, while he primarily did play on the outside his whole career, I think he's someone that could benefit from moving to the slot in the NFL, at the NFL level, to get maybe more free releases, or maybe a team that uses a lot of motion so that they can kind of simulate those free releases. Now, outside of the speed just being all right, I would say he's not like the best route runner. He's not the most nuanced route runner at this point. Just someone that really struggled to consistently get separation. And I do want to see the contested catch number get better in year 2 in the SEC. I know a lot of people really like Tre Harris. I liked Tre Harris last year, but if you can't separate, it's just, you're going to be a tough sell to be a day 1 or day 2 talent. Before we move on, I got to give a special thanks to today's sponsor, BetUS. Use the link in the description or the pinned comment to take advantage of a ludicrous 125% sign-in bonus on your first 3 deposits. And y'all know me. Y'all know I love college football, and they have their future book odds for the national championship winner and conference championship winners. Shoot, they even have win totals for your favorite FBS schools. And I'm a Hurricanes fan. I know. It hurts sometimes, but this might be the best chance that the Miami Hurricanes have to win the ACC in the last 5 years. And thanks to BetUS and that ludicrous, that insane sign-in bonus, I'm going to be able to bet a fat stack on Miami winning the ACC at plus 400. So please take advantage of that offer today by using the link in the description or in the pinned comment and get in on the action. But as always, please, my friends, bet responsibly and bet within your means. At number 14, I have Juice Wells out of Ole Miss. So, hey, we just talked about Ole Miss, but this is going to be his first year there at Ole Miss. If you're unfamiliar with Juice Wells, 6'1", 210. And last year he actually played at South Carolina. I was very amped up to see him. We actually did a stream for opening weekend, and I streamed a watch along for the South Carolina North Carolina game. And he got hurt. He was nursing a ankle, I believe it was an ankle or a foot injury during the offseason, and he re-aggravated it in that game. And that's actually how we discovered Xavier Legette. That's right, I got to say it like him. But Wells unfortunately ended up not playing much of the year. I think he was limited to 3 games all last season, or 2 games, excuse me, before deciding to, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to transfer. I'm going to go Ole Miss. That's where he's at this year. Prior to that, he was at James Madison, where he just tore up the competition. He did have a breakout year in 2022, where he was a second-team All-SEC. So don't think this is a guy that doesn't have well-deserved hype. He was a prospect that I fully anticipated being at the very least a day 2 talent in the 2024 class, but unfortunately because of injury, ended up returning to school. But he's someone with really good burst, really good elusiveness. He's just a very explosive athlete. He stays low when beginning engagement, and he accelerates really well out of his breaks. He shows good footwork when working in one-on-one situations, and he's just a very smooth athlete. He's got that shimmy. He's got that shake to him. Very reliable hands. If you look back in 2022, again, that was kind of a full sample size, and it was in the SEC at South Carolina. His drop rate was only 2.8%, and 95% of his catchable targets were indeed caught. He's got reliable hands, and he's got some yak ability. He's just shifty out in space. Back in 2022, he had 19 forced missed tackles. On top of that, a very high character individual. I just really like this dude's character, man. He talked about his early academic struggles and being a lazy student in high school, and that resulted in him not being very recruitable. If you go back to like 2019, he actually started his collegiate career at Fork Union, and just talked about just the difference a year made, where it was like he got academically eligible, went to James Madison, really cut his teeth trying to grind to a Power 5 school. And now he's here. He had 1 year that he broke out, and then unfortunately the injury, and hopefully he has a good year this year. Some of the things that I don't like about him is the route running, not the most nuanced route runner, like just doesn't use his hands well during the route, doesn't really, I don't want to say understand, but doesn't leverage defenders to his best abilities, doesn't always give the quarterback an optimal window to throw in. And on top of that, the long speed, not ideal. More explosive than fast is the type of athlete I would say he is. Like his long speed just doesn't have that long speed to consistently challenge vertically. And coming off the ankle injury, I just feel like that will continue to be the case. And I'm hoping that ankle injury doesn't take away from his past explosiveness. At number 12, I have Evan Stewart out of Oregon, formerly of Texas A&M, coming in at 6 foot, 175. Yeah, he's light. We will get to it, but he's formerly a 5-star recruit out of the 2022 recruiting class. He also participated in track and field in high school, where he did the long jump, got a silver medal for that. And he also anchored the gold medal winning team in the 4x400 and got a silver medal in the 4x200 meters. So yeah, the dude is fast. He's kind of an elite athlete, and it was unfortunate we really didn't get to see that last season because he ended up starting 7 games, but he missed a good portion of the final stretch with an ankle injury that he suffered earlier in the year versus Arkansas. But the dude is fast. He is smooth. He is just plays with really quick feet. His movements are very sharp. He could change direction on a dime. I could see why a lot of people are pretty high on him, but he is a projection. He isn't a guy that hasn't really produced yet. So just keep that in the back of your mind. The route running is really good. Should be no surprise, as he's just a great athlete, a phenomenal athlete. He knows how to gear down when he has to come back to the football. The hips are fluid. He is just really good in that facet, though I won't say he's like a complete route runner. Like there are a lot of times where he just tries to out athletic the defenders, and you'll see the lack of size kind of show up, and especially against like press, he just needs to kind of figure out other ways to defeat defenders, to defeat press, to defeat physicality during the route if he's not going to put on that weight. But the dude's stupid young. I imagine if he comes out this year, he'll be 22 at the beginning of his rookie season. And the yak ability, he was a bit slowed by injury last season, but his ability after the catch was it's solid, man. It really is. You go back to his freshman season, and he's not just fast, man. He can legitimately put defenders in a blender out in space. He is dangerous in that regard. But kind of the nitpicks I have with him is, yeah, the guy's slender. The guy is small. He's thin. Not small because he's 6 foot, but he's thin. He needs to put on more weight and more play strength if he's going to deal with NFL level physicality, or else he's largely just going to be viewed as a slot receiver, but a darn good one. The route nuance, like I talked about that a little bit with the just the lack of physicality, so it kind of stems from just him needing to get bigger. But the ball skills, the drops were immense, man. He just doesn't secure the ball well, and he will have would-be catches just jarred loose by contact. A 12.5% drop rate over his career, that's a big number, man. He also struggled at the contested catch. If you look, 33.3% over his career, and it just really, all his cons just stems from a lack of mass, a lack of bulk, a lack of play strength. So he kind of is a total projection at this point and needs to put on more weight, and desperately needs to. At number 11, I have Elijhah Badger out of Florida, formerly of Arizona State, coming in at 6'2", 190 pounds, and he was formerly a 4-star recruit out of the 2020 recruiting class. Utter monster in high school, put up over 3,400 receiving yards, 52 receiving touchdowns, also had a pick 6 and 6 return touchdowns. Now, the last couple of years, he was an utter monster for the Sun Devils, piling up 51 force miss tackles between those 2 seasons, and now he takes his talents to the SEC this season. The dude's an utter yak monster. Just a very fluid athlete with really good ball carrier vision, good shiftiness, good contact balance, just a smooth athlete in general. And you love the versatility with him. Like, he's someone who can work outside, he can work inside. You want to get him involved in jet sweeps, end arounds. He also brings return capabilities. And the ball skills are really good with him. They truly are. He had a 3% drop rate last season. And I get it. Most of his production came off of screens. But when you look at just how he tracks the football, how he attacks it, and high points the football in air, because his quarterback situation wasn't good the last 2 years, and he was put into a lot of jump ball situations, and I imagine that's going to get much better at Florida with Graham Mertz, who's just simply a better quarterback than what he had to deal with at Arizona State. I will say the route tree, not rounded yet, but to be fair, he was used heavily in this quick pass offense, and I think about 68% of his targets came on passes of 9 yards or less in 2023. His average depth of target from 9 yards or less was minus a yard and a half. So yeah, he was used frequently on screens, and I imagine that route tree is going to open up a little bit at Florida, as I don't know, man, maybe he ends up taking the Ricky Pearsall role. It's going to be very fascinating. I will say on more complex routes there at Arizona State, he would tend to round out of his breaks. And there were times where he got caught running a little too upright, and just simply, he's a smooth athlete. I think he's a flexible athlete. Just needs to sink his hips a little bit deeper earlier in his routes and prior to his breaks. And his top speed is pretty solid, but he needs maybe some runway to get there. So he's not I don't think he's got elite speed, but a hell of a good athlete who I'm very excited to see what he can do at Florida. At number 10, I have Ricky White out of UNLV, coming in at 6'1", 191 pounds, formerly a 3-star recruit out of the 2020 recruiting class. Actually grew up with 11 siblings. That's kind of nuts. But he started his career at Michigan State, where in his freshman season, he played 4 games with 3 starts. One of those coming against Michigan, where he had 8 receptions for 196 yards and a touchdown. He did miss the final 3 games of the 2020 season with an undisclosed injury. If you remember, the 2020 season was, at least for the Big Ten, it was a shortened year. It was a short year for a lot of different conferences, but he ended up redshirting in 2021, missed spring practice for personal reasons, and just never rejoined the team during the season despite being listed on the roster. And that's when he decided to enter the transfer portal. And then in 2022, started all 12 games. 2023 was his big breakout season, where he became a 3rd-team All-American, where he had over 1,400 yards, close to 1,500 yards, 8 touchdowns. He had a yards per route run close to 4, which is a ludicrous number. And he's just got game-breaking speed. He absolutely flies. He was recorded multiple times last year going 22 miles per hour. His just ability to accelerate, I think, is elite. There were times where he got the corner and just turned it upfield, and it was bye-bye. He was gone. On top of that, the ball skills pretty darn good. Tracks the ball really well, and he's tough at the catch point. Doesn't stand idly by and wait for the ball to come to him. He was 47% on contested catches last season. His drop rate 5.4, pretty solid. Very high football IQ player, just great feel for finding space, whether that is during the route or after the catch. He knows how to change the tempo of his routes and just combines that with just good shimmy, good shake, good double moves. If I had to really criticize some things about his game, maybe the route running, times he could run a bit upright, just doesn't necessarily sink during the route. He sometimes could feel a bit segmented during those during the route at times, but the dude has great fluidity and, again, great athlete. So I expect him that being an area he could develop well at. The play strength isn't where you maybe wanted to be. He is thin and should add some muscle, some mass. There are times where he does struggle against more physical defenders during the route or if put on press. And I mean, if anything, like his speed is good enough for me. Like the guy's got elite speed. If I just see him as a vertical speedster, I think that's A-okay. He was very dominant in that role last season. But again, a dude with the frame that I think could put on more mass, more strength, and he could definitely become more dangerous. Currently got a 3rd round grade on him. And we're going to stick with the Mountain West for number 9 as I got Jalen Royals out of Utah State coming in at 6 foot, 195 pounds. He was initially a 0-star recruit from the 2021 class. Did play receiver and cornerback in high school. Also played basketball and participated in track and field, where he was an all-state high jumper. Ends up going to Georgia Military College in 2021, which Georgia Military College, they've kind of put out some guys in last recent years, or at least guys who have transferred and made their names at other places, like Byron Young most recently, who came out of Tennessee, who's tearing it up for the Rams now. But he ended up being offered a scholarship to Utah State after he just flew out there for a one-day tryout. And he was just so good that Utah State were like, oh no, just give this guy a scholarship. He has the chance to be a stud. Now, it wasn't until 2023 where he broke out. So we're only talking about 1 year of production with him, but he was hella good last season with 15 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards. He also had 16 force miss tackles. So let's talk about this guy, because I think he is a keen at the contested catch point, man. He just looks like he's going up for a rebound with how he just takes the ball, plucks it out of the air. He gets great position. He just simply attacks the catch point better than the defender. He was a very reliable jump ball guy with a contested catch rate of 73.9%. Top of that, explosiveness, man. He doesn't feel fast, but he's able to pull away from defenders with relative ease, man. He's got some of that Puka Nacua smoothness to him. But to be fair, like when he went to his tryout for Utah State, he ran a 4.3 40. On top of that, 130-inch broad jump. So maybe he's just fast. Like I don't know what it was. Like watch his tape. He just felt more smooth than actual fast, and he was able to pull away. But we are talking about lesser competition, which we'll kind of get to in a second. But the route running is really good, man. He isn't just a jump ball guy, but a smooth athlete who runs his routes with real good precision. He's able to explode out of his breaks and get legit separation. He had, if you look at his separation numbers among FBS receivers last season, he was in the 92nd percentile, which is utterly ludicrous. Like the footwork is clean, the release package is really good with him. The contact balance is pretty solid. I wouldn't call him strong, but aside from his hands, he's got really strong hands. But he's sturdy, man. He shrugs off contact with really no problem. And he is really able to turn in some big plays because of just how good his contact balance is. 40% of his yards came after the catch in 2023. So let's get to some of the cons, as this is a guy that truly came from nowhere, man. Royals had only 7 receptions headed over his collegiate career heading into last season, where he broke out. He was legitimately on nobody's radar until last season, and he will honestly need to produce again since he wasn't a highly rated recruit and someone who's going to have to prove himself in the all-star circuit during the offseason draft process. Because again, Utah State, the competition, it's a bit lower than what you would expect at the Power 4 schools, which I gotta get used to saying Power 4 now. Been saying Power 5 for so many years. Versus press, like he's got a good release package, but when defenders are able to get hands on him, like they can effectively jam him. This has been something that he got better at as the year went on. So just something to kind of keep in mind. On top of that, the height, man, this is just more of a comment than an actual negative. Like, I honestly think he's shorter than 6 foot. I'm not, like, based on like what I saw on tape and what Utah State's listed him at, I don't expect him to be 6 foot. But at the same time, he was so good at the contested catch. So I don't know, just a comment I made and something that, well, we'll find out when they actually get his measurables during the offseason draft process. But someone who, like, I saw the numbers and I was like, I need to know more. At number 8, I have Deion Burks out of Oklahoma, formerly of Purdue, coming in at 5'9", 190 pounds. And the dude is an elite athlete. He is, man. He absolutely flies. He's lightning quick. He's explosive out of his breaks, displays good stop-start ability. He was tearing it up at the spring game for the Sooners. And on top of that, the route running is really good. Despite being on the smaller side, he has demonstrated a few different type of releases depending on the leverage. And he is just has the speed to totally toast the defense, tear the top off of it. And he also understands how to use tempo during his routes, how to basically fluctuate that speed to keep defenders on their heels. The ball skills are pretty darn good. Like, he has natural hands and has made a variety of difficult catches. The body control is pretty darn good. He tracks the ball exceptionally well. He'll extend and lay out for the football and does a good job of shielding off defenders away from the catch point. And tough ball carrier, man. Last season had 18 forced missed tackles. He's more dense than your average short wide receiver at 190, and he eats lower body contact really well. And then he has just the speed to be able to run through arm tackles. However, he is a smaller receiver. He is short. He may be a little bit thicker, but he is short. He does have some strength concerns at the line and during the route and at the catch point, and quite possibly could end up pigeonholed as a slot-only player. And then I mentioned the ball skills, but he's got a ton of drops, man. He does struggle with his hands, like a 14.9% drop rate over his career. Like, it's kind of wild because, like, he has ball skills and he will extend to attack the football. He just doesn't regularly come down with it. So I think it's just I really do think it's just a lack of size that shows up, where if he's hit around the catch point, then it's going to be tough. I mean, his contested catch rate over his career has been not good, 21.9%. And typically, you just don't expect it to be good for players cut from this cloth. He also had a lot of forced missed tackles last year, but didn't have a lot to show for it. Like, he's not as elusive as you expect given his athletic profile. And a third of his broken tackles actually came in one game against Fresno State. Like, he's very much more so a run by you type of player, but currently got a second round grade on him. He's kind of like this fringe top 50 player for me. At number 7, I have Tory Horton out of Colorado State. That's right, the Mountain West makes another appearance on the list. And he's coming in at 6'3", 185 pounds. I was a little shocked, actually, that he decided to return to school after having a really good year last season, having over 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns. He had 21 forced missed tackles. The drop rate, the contested catch rate were all really good numbers. So I was like taken back why he decided to come back to school. But here he is. He was formerly a 3-star recruit out of the 2020 recruiting class. He is the youngest of 5 siblings, which his oldest brother serves in the Army. His sister plays volleyball overseas. His other older brother was a 2-time first-team All-Mountain West cornerback at Boise State. And this is a guy that played baseball, basketball, football, played the big 3. Really enjoyed it, but started his career in Nevada, decided to transfer over to Colorado State to join his coach. And the dude is long. The dude is fast. He's got a long frame, gives him a huge catch radius, and he's a long strider. I think at one point last year, he was recorded at 23 miles per hour. So, like, the top speed's pretty darn good with him. The route running is pretty solid with him as well. He understands how to attack leverage. He closes the cushion really good between him and the corner. He's just a smooth mover at his size and changes direction really well. And also the strong hands, like a 4% drop rate last season, 57.1% contested catch rate. He does a great job with just showing good hand-eye coordination. There's a couple of highlight throws, especially towards the sidelines for him, where he just shows good hand-eye coordination, knowing where he's at on the field and where he needs to have his feet. The dude is just good at the catch point. Really good. Physicality, man, he absorbs contact pretty darn well. The last 2 seasons, 36 forced missed tackles. He's a tough runner, and he's hard to bring down, and he can be savage in the run game as a blocker, as he laid some monster hits. Though the frame is thin, he's now listed at smaller than he was last year, as he was listed, I think, about 195, 190. Now he's at 185, so I get it, long, and he plays like a dog, but I would like him to fill out some of that room on his frame. I will say probably not the most fluid player. Like, he does a good job of selling his routes, but I feel like he'll play too upright, doesn't sink his hips, and he doesn't truly like take advantage of just his long strides and his overall speed. Like, I just got a feeling that he could be a much better prospect if he cleans up a couple of areas there and fills out his frame. But I really look forward to him for this draft cycle. I can't wait to see what he can do at like an all-star bowl, because we've seen him step up in big games, most notably like Colorado last season. But big fan of Tory Horton. At number 6, I got Elic Ayomanor out of Stanford, coming in 6'2", 210 pounds, formerly a 3-star recruit from the 2022 class. And I think a large part of why he wasn't, I guess, a higher level recruit was he had like one lone year in high school football. Prior to that, he was living in Canada. I mean, the dude was kind of a track star in Canada. Like, he was 8th nationally in the U18 Canada 200 meters. But I think that's why he probably wasn't as recruited as he should have been, because you look at him on the field last year and like, mama mia, how'd this man end up at Stanford? Stanford's kind of been on the struggle bus the last couple of seasons. So it was a bit surprising, because the man is strong like an ox. Like, he has a well-built frame, and he does his best work getting leverage and just boxing out defenders, man. He hits with pop at the line of scrimmage, whether it's him getting off a press or him as a run blocker. Like, he's got the play strength you desire. He's explosive. And you kind of notice this a little bit later in the year, because keep in mind, his freshman season, he actually had a red shirt because he tore his ACL, MCL, and meniscus in practice. So he was still, at the beginning of this year, kind of coming off that injury, and you could definitely tell the speed was a lot better down the stretch. The explosiveness was a lot better down the stretch. Like, he's able to cover a lot of ground, get to top speed pretty darn quickly. The route runner with him, man, he's got a nice release package. He does a really good job of just being able to set defenders up, and plays with great footwork, very decisive movements. He's just consistently got a step on defenders coming out of his breaks and on like stop patterns, comeback routes, and stuff like that. The hands, strong. He has some insane catches on tape. We'll talk about a little bit with his drops, because they're more focused drops, but he has shown ball skills. I mean, shoot, go look at that catch against Colorado on Travis Hunter. It's utterly ridiculous. He's got great hand-eye coordination, and he with him, 50-50, like jump ball situations, 50-50 situations. They're not 50-50. He's a bit unfair in that regard. I kind of mentioned he's already a pretty darn good run blocker, but he is someone who does a really good job at that, and because of his size, he's actually a mover in the run game too. I did say he's got some explosiveness, but I think he kind of lacks elite athleticism. I feel like in terms of like the change of direction, it's not there, but he's also a bigger player. I think he's got good speed, but not like great speed. So we'll see a full year of him healthy, because I mean, last year he was wearing the brace early in the season. So, I mean, being a bigger receiver, you kind of temper your expectations anyway. You're not expecting these guys to necessarily just like fly. Like, not everyone has to be a 4-3 guy. But I'm kind of curious, like, where exactly he's at in that 4-4 realm. I mentioned the drops, focus drops, 8.7 drop rate last season. Like, there are just times where he just plays with wide hands at the catch point and lets the ball come into his chest. Like, this kind of led to some just bobbled passes. And again, a guy with natural ball skills just kind of needs to tidy up some things here or there. I have him as a top 50 prospect in this class. I'm very excited about Ayomanor. At number 5, I got Emeka Egbuka, coming out of Ohio State, 6'1", 205 pounds, former 5-star recruit that like legitimately has a pedigree here. He played wide receiver, defensive back. He was also a returner in high school. He was Washington's Gatorade Player of the Year his junior year. He didn't play his senior year because of the Rona, ruined a lot of people's lives. And he was also, kind of a fun fact, also played baseball in high school. And he was the national champ at MLB's pitch, hit, and run competition for 7 and 8-year-olds in 2011. So what were you doing in 2011? This is while this guy was out here just being a stud as a 7 and 8-year-old. That's kind of wild. At Ohio State, he initially played as a reserve because he was stuck behind, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith-Njigba. But he did return kicks, though. And he had 580 yards in kick return yardage, so kind of nice. He started all 13 games in 2022, was a second team All Big Ten. And then unfortunately last year, he missed some time with an ankle injury, had tightrope surgery during the season. Still managed to make third team All Big Ten, but like he only had 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. So it was a bit of a down year with a lot of that because of injury. I have him as a top 50 prospect because the dude's a smooth athlete. Like, very smooth. Great short area quicks, really good change of direction. It doesn't surprise me that he was used in the return game early in his career. On top of that, he's a very savvy route runner, kind of following the steps of guys like Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Like, he's very fluent with, like, just very fluid athlete, plays with good hips, sinks his hips at his breaks. He's able to really explode out of his breaks. He's also knows how to like fluctuate that speed during the route, man. He's just got kind of this complete understanding of how to be a route runner. He just knows how to create space, and he uses like if a corner is going to give him some room, he knows how to use that to his advantage. He's just got the complete understanding of how to run routes. On top of that, very dependable target. 5% drop rate over his career. Last year, it was 4.7%. He's been a consistent chain mover over the middle. 90 first downs on 124 career receptions. First down machine, you like that. Top of that, being an Ohio State player, he's also a good run blocker. That just kind of, it's in the veins there. What Heartline teaches these guys. But I will say he's mostly a slot player, man. He has hardly ever not been used in the slot. 68.6% of the time he has lined up in the slot in his career. It would be nice to see more wins versus press on the outside. But like for the most part, I feel like he's just a guy better served in the slot. The long speed, he's more quick than actually fast. So I don't know about his ability to consistently win vertically. Like his testing is going to be pretty fascinating in that regard. And when he does drop the football, it's usually him looking upfield before securing the catch. Like focus drops aren't too big of a problem, but he could definitely do a better job at high pointing the football as at the contested catch point and just doing a better job of challenging at the contested catch point. I do think the guy ultimately is a high-end slot player, but maybe someone not like with Jackson Smith and Jigba, where I was like sold this guy's probably playing the slot like 70% of the time. Like I feel like with Egbuka, you could probably have him as like a 50-50 split or like a 40-60 split. At number 4, I got Travis Hunter out of Colorado coming in at 6'1", 185 pounds. This is solely what I think of him as a receiver. Haven't gotten into the corner tape yet. So this is strictly my wide receiver eval for Hunter. He was formerly a 5-star recruit out of the 2022 class. Ends up going to Jackson State there with Deion Sanders, and he follows Deion to Colorado last year. He started 9 games both at receiver and cornerback last season. Did miss 3 games with the lacerated kidney. Ended up making first team all Pac-12 as a cornerback. But this dude's a stamina monster. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, he played over 1,000 snaps through 9 games in 2023. That's ridiculous. There were at some points where he looked gassed, but he was playing 120 snaps more times than not every game. And when you consider that, that's just insane that he can maintain a high level of play both ways deep into a ball game. It's kind of nuts, kind of ludicrous, but he's a twitched up athlete, really good speed. I would say he's probably more quick than he is fast, but he plays lightning quick, great footwork, great stop-start ability. He effortlessly changes direction, and that shines most after the catch, where he had 18 forced missed tackles in 2023. He's just very slippery in that regard. Also, the ball skills are pretty good with him, man. Like, he is elite when attacking the football, which that's just going to really help him in his corner evaluation, huh? It really is. But he's got good hand-eye coordination. He's able to react and like just so quickly that he can adjust his body, get his hands up, and make a play on the football. Like, he is fearless when getting to the football. Had 0 drops last season. Had a contested catch rate of 63.6%. Very good number. Like, if I'm gonna kind of like, if we're gonna like, not necessarily nitpick, but like, let's be honest with his projection into the NFL. Because I have a feeling I'm going to have him, and I kind of already figured this, but that I was going to be higher on him as a corner than a wide receiver. Like, it'll be interesting where he plays in the NFL, because like, I think a lot of people are going to like him better at corner. But also at the same time, he's going to be like, well, wide receivers make more money, which, I mean, you're making a business decision, and I think that's fine. Maybe he plays both ways in the NFL. Probably not. I mean, the NFL is kind of a different animal, but I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. So, like, it's gonna, I don't know, man. It's gonna be very fascinating. I've never had to deal with a player like this during my time on the channel, so we'll see how it goes. The play strength, he's pretty muscular for his size, but it also doesn't really mind physicality. However, I do have doubts at his current weight at 85 pounds that he'll be able to hold up against NFL strength. Like, his frame's just pretty wiry, but again, the NFL is just kind of a different animal in that regard. His route running could be a little bit better, like at least his nuance. Like, he ran a very, very small route tree for Colorado, but you could see the athletic traits to be a great route runner. So that's going to be something to watch out for, man. See if the offense opens up the book on what they want to do with him as a route run. Because, I mean, keep in mind, it was like a lot of slants, a lot of screens, a lot of go balls. You get the occasional in and out breaking routes. So I just kind of want to see here, because you know how good the movement skills are. So you kind of want to see him run a bit more diverse route tree. But as a wide receiver, I have a first round grade on him. And I imagine it's going to be much higher as a corner, which that's the next group I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap up with corner. So I'm very excited to see where he lands there. At number 3, I got Isaiah Bond out of Texas, formerly of Alabama, coming in at 5'11", 180 pounds. Decided to transfer after Nick Saban retired, and now here he is at Texas, former 4-star recruit out of the 2022 class. He ran track and field in high school and won state titles in the Georgia 6A 100-meter and 200-meter. So, fun fact, he's fast. He's an elite athlete, man. He is an elite athlete. He looks like he's playing on fast forward while other guys are stuck in the mud, man. He's so smooth that he doesn't lose speed when cutting or changing angles. He's twitched up. He's explosive out of his breaks. You'll love it. But on top of that, he brings some ball skills to the table. He can track the ball so well downfield. He won't wait for the ball to come to him. He'll go out and contest it. Like last season, a 3.9% drop rate. That's a really good number. Also, we'll talk about the contested catch number because, well, I mean, I guess we could do it now. You know what? We can do it now. Listen, the guy plays bigger and stronger than he actually is, but there's no way you get it away from it. Like, he is a smaller receiver. So, of course, he's not going to be as good at the contested catch. It was 20% last season. Like, the heart is willing, but the body is weak and small. That sounds a little rude because, I mean, we've seen smaller receivers. Heck, I'd argue there were some smaller receivers on this list, but, like, it's just kind of the truth. And, I mean, he's a guy that's still, grown really young. I think he's actually one of the youngest receivers I looked at in this class. So he definitely has opportunity to fill out that frame even more. And I think that could go a long way. So, like I said, he plays with that dog in him, man. Like, again, stronger than he actually is. Like, he won't let himself get bullied. But again, that's different in the NFL. Those are grown men. So we'll see. We'll see with that. But the route running, it kind of feels like just every play is going at full speed. I feel like you can be more creative and learn how to kind of learn how to tempo his routes a little bit better. Like, it just feels like sometimes he runs himself into coverage over the top. His yak ability doesn't have a ton of, he just didn't have a ton of opportunities in the quick passing game they had there in 2023. They solely kind of used this guy as a more so as a vertical threat. If you're going to go look at his average depth of target, 12.8 yards. It's a little deeper than some of the most of the guys on this list, but still, for the opportunities that he was given, you kind of expected that number to be a little bit higher. Only had 6 forced missed tackles last year, so you're kind of hoping to see a little bit more elusiveness as a ball carrier. But just, again, based on speed alone, I feel like when you have rare speed like that, you're going to be talked about in the first round. That's where I have him right now. At number 2, I got Tetairoa McMillan out of Arizona, coming in at 6'5", 210 pounds. So he's a big boy. And he had a wonderful season last year. Ended up being a second team all Pac-12. Had close to 1,400 yards receiving, 11 tutties. And let's just talk about his game, man. Because, the dude's good. He's physically daunting. He feels like a giraffe running through the Sahara. Like, his length is just that ridiculous. It's just hard to believe that as a defender, you're going to have a chance at the catch point. And to be fair, he was pretty darn good at that. His drop rate, 2.2% last season, 50% at the contested catch, so he was pretty darn good in those opportunities. Strong hands, has a huge catch radius. Had very, very impressive catches at the catch point last season. And the dude's a long strider. Like, he can cover a lot of ground very quickly, closes the distance pretty quickly between him and the defender. And the dude knows how to be able to stack defenders to where he can get downfield and be a weapon, be a vertical threat. Good release package too, man. He, on top of being long and strong, he's actually got a very nice release. So, like, defenders, if they're going to give him cushion, he has this nice little skip release that allows him to get space there along the sideline. On top of that, I think he's got a pretty solid diamond release, though that one could be a little bit quicker. But when you're a taller receiver, I get it. You're going to struggle to get them hips down for that. And I feel like that one kind of requires it. But regardless, he's tough to bring down. He's big. Who would have thought? Ended up having 13 forced missed tackles. And, like, it was kind of funny, man. He may have a slender lower body, but, like, he was, at some points, he's carrying guys wrapped around his legs, and it's like, this is just ludicrous. I do want to see maybe him put on a little bit more mass here or there, because, like, he feels really slender. Like, I'm not sold on that 210 number, because he feels really, really thin. So I'm kind of curious how, like, if he is indeed 210, then he should probably be playing at like 220. It's like, he is thin, and I don't know how that'll hold up against the NFL physicality. Also, there are times where he does struggle to separate. He's more of a long strider than actually being fast or explosive. Being a taller receiver, he has a bit tougher time sinking the hips. He just doesn't have that suddenness or burst out of his breaks to get consistent separation. So, honestly, when you have a hard time separating at the college level, then you better be a good contested catcher, which he is. He's a solid contested catcher with solid hands. And then at number 1, I got Luther Burden III out of Missouri, coming in at 5'11", 208 pounds, former 5-star recruit from the 2022 class. He played wide receiver and returner in high school. He also played basketball in high school and was selected to participate in Team USA's youth development for basketball. Also, basketball kind of ran in the bloodline. His father played basketball at St. Louis University. So kind of immediately was a starter and someone that Tigers are like, yeah, we got to get the ball in this guy's hands, like, right from the get-go. And last year, he ends up being a first-team All-SEC, second-team All-American, had over 1,200 yards, 9 tutties, 24 missed tackles. Good gosh, mamma mia. The dude's an utter game changer. He is a playmaker from anywhere on the field, whether it's as a pass catcher, ball carrier, return man. You go back, I know he hasn't really been used as a returner in college, but he had 8 punt returns for touchdown in high school. Kind of ridiculous. The dude's just elite elusive. Like, he's certainly more explosive than he is fast, and that's not to say his speed is bad. It's just that his stop-start ability is that special. Like, he can turn short plays into touchdowns. He has some rare foot speed. He goes from 0 to 60 in the blink of an eye. Also a very high football IQ player. He just because he plays in the slot doesn't mean he can't play outside. He's shown a solid release package. Might have one of the most deadly diamond releases in this class if you're unfamiliar with that. Essentially, like, it can be a multitude. I say a multitude of things, but essentially it's where you fake the vertical route and you kind of like you hard plant the vertical and then you come back inside for the slant, or it could actually work vice versa. But typically a lot of people do that to set up the slant, to where eventually then you could set up vertical route and get that immediate separation. This guy does that. It's wonderful. He understands leverage. He presents a nice window for his quarterback to throw in the middle of the field. He knows how to find soft spots in zone. Just overall understanding of the game is top notch. Also tough as nails, man. He is dense. He when it comes to his frame, he packs some pop. He's feisty. He's physical. He's a guy who will churn his legs through contact and not let himself be bullied at the catch point. 56.5% on contested catches last season. You love to see it. I will say, though, route running isn't the most crisp route runner yet. He will round out some of his routes and doesn't always play with timing in his route. It is something that's coming together. This was kind of a similar criticism people had about Malik Neighbors last year, which I find it funny that I bring that name up because I don't know. It's kind of an easy comparison to make. You're like, very, very good forced tackle machine. Sign me up, because I mean that's kind of what it is. But Malik Neighbors, I thought, did a very good job at developing his route tree. Though it wasn't necessarily, it's not to say he was like the best route runner in last year's class. He certainly wasn't. But you could definitely see him get better as a route runner last season. You're kind of hoping with Burden he could maybe make that same jump, but let's not pretend like it's something like crippling. Like, it's just sometimes he doesn't play with timing in the route. He gets a little too fancy, and sometimes it looks like more so he's doing what we see at one-on-ones at like the senior ball and whatnot, rather than, no, you need to go out there, you need to get to this landmark at this time, or else, well, the play's screwed up and you're going to be forcing your quarterback off of his spot. So, yeah. Inconsistent killer instinct I put here. He doesn't always attack the ball in air or high point it, and I'd like to see a little more effort as a blocker. I also put here sometimes he just doesn't come back to the football when the play breaks down. So little nitpicks here and there when it comes to that. But like all in all, he is your wide receiver one. I don't think it's relatively that close. Like, you can make a case just McMillan because he's just a little bit freakier in terms of what like his size. But I mean, at the end of the day, like I'm a sucker for guys that can create after the catch, and Luther Burden is indeed that guy. But let's talk about some of these guys who just missed the list. I know I'm going to be hearing about Tez Johnson in my comment section. He was actually wide receiver 17 for me. Listen, guys, it's just at that size, 5'10", 161, like, it's rare. It's rare for guys as small and as thin as Johnson to succeed in the league. It's not impossible, especially like given his speed, but it's a hard sell. Like, other guys with like a similar profile that have done, I would say, at least decently well in the league are like guys like, it's Tank Dell, it's like Tutu Atwell, Jakeem Grant, you got Devin Tompkins. So what you're saying is he could be anywhere between Tank Dell and Devin Tompkins. I don't know. I'd rather take a shot on that early day 3 than somewhere in the first 2 days of the NFL draft. But the dude's got great speed, twitched up, really good route runner, high character individual too. He's got a great story if you weren't aware, where he was living with Bo Nix's family. So yeah, I'd highly implore you to check that out. Another slot guy I want to talk about here is Xavier Restrepo out of Miami. My Hurricanes, baby. Do you? At the end of the day, when it came to him, like, I felt like he was a good, not great player. Like, the long speed, I wasn't that impressed with. He's not a burner. I thought he disappeared versus good competition. Like, if you look at last year, he had 7 receptions for 26 yards against Clemson and Florida State. I think Florida State, he ended up doing nothing. I can't remember. One of those games, he ended up not even having 1 reception. But like, he disappeared against competition. He very much feels like a slot-only player. But I like a lot of what he does. Like, I like his after the catch ability. I like his ability to move the chains. I think he's got sure hands. It's just I feel like that's more of an early day 3 type of skill set. Let's talk about okay, so this is kind of my dark horse, and it's Kobe Young out of Georgia, formerly of Miami. It's just at his size, he is 6'3", 215, and I think he's got some good explosiveness and launch speed to him. I think he could be overdue for a kind of a breakout year. He's also another guy with a very interesting story. I also have Sam Brown on here. He's now at Miami, which, hey, that's hella cool. Formerly of Houston. Just ended up not like he's okay. So he's wide receiver 16 for me. My little blurb here says his change of direction made him a nightmare to deal with after the catch, but I want to see him unlock some vertical ability. Because at Houston, he was very much used after the catch. I mean, you could definitely see that in his numbers. 24 missed tackles last season. What was his average depth of target real quick? 10 yards. So that's not that bad of a number, but for a guy that's as athletically gifted as him, you would kind of hope to see a little bit more in the vertical route tree. Also, I'm kind of curious about the physicality. He struggled when facing press. He was a guy often that had to be put into motion to be given free releases. Nick Anderson out of Oklahoma is another guy that I think could be kind of a breakout player. He's coming in at 6'4", 219, so kind of ridiculous, but doesn't attack the football like he should at his size. Like, the dude's big, the dude's explosive. I just now want to see a little bit of that that nasty to his game. As you can tell, just like his route running, how he attacks the football. Like, he was 25% on contested catch situations. Not good. Like, they should be better at that size, and I'm kind of hoping they do get better. He's stupid young. He will be a redshirt sophomore this season, so he could definitely get better in that regards, but his tools are very, very interesting. I know a lot of people like Jaden or Caden Prather, but he ended up being the Maryland wide receiver. I was like, he's fine, he's okay, sure, like, okay, like, he's not a dynamic player, and he's got a lot of drops. But I mean, I get why people liked him. I really do. Prototypical size, good vertical threat, but I thought he was fine. Jaden Higgins from Iowa State is another guy. I just don't think he's got the launch speed to be a consistent separator. But I do like him as like a football IQ, good frame, good hands, 6'4", 210. So, like, I kind of like him in that early to mid day 3 range. You got Josh Kelly, low key. I really love me some Josh Kelly, formerly at Washington State, now at Texas Tech. Like, the dude is one of the most physical players in this class. His route running is great. I don't think he's a high end athlete, but I think he's a solid and a good athlete. And he was a bit of a late breakout last year. But I think he's gonna look really good in the Big 12 there. So yeah, man, I'm big sucker for him. Some people like CJ Daniels, formerly of Liberty, now at LSU, and it's just like good player, good ball skills, very strong. It's just not a high end athlete, and the route running is a bit clunky when it's on more kind of like complex routes. Like, I just think he's gonna consistently struggle with getting play-to-play separation. Also, he had some focus drops, but to be fair, a lot of it was him turning upfield to make a play before actually securing the catch. So, and And focus drops are easy to iron out once game, so I'm not too worried about that. Anyone else I really want to discuss here? Some people like Will Shepherd, but I think he's an okay athlete that just doesn't get good separation consistently. I don't know. I think I maybe want to give a shout out to Oronde Gadsden, who will be healthy. Unfortunately missed last season with a Liz Frank injury, so foot injury there. There at Syracuse, he's listed as tight end, but he's just a big slot. Really just a big slot. So I actually look forward to what he can do next season, because he's got rare size at 6'5", 223. You just don't see that, and he was pretty dominant in 2022. He was a first-team All-ACC player, so I'm very excited to see him this year. But let me know who are some of your favorite wide receivers in this draft class. We'll be back again with corners, and then after that, I'm going to have my draft guide available for you guys. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.